The investigation was about to take a dramatic turn. The galaxy was about to learn that the pre-1 month after the scan, the greatest expedition in galactic history prepared to depart. 50 species had sent representatives. News networks from 1,000 worlds would broadcast every moment. The destination was First Light, the mythical precursor homeworld that every civilization considered sacred ground. No one had ever successfully entered the planet's central archive. The structure called the Origin Spire stood at the heart of the main city, sealed by a lock that defeated every attempt to open it. Scientists believed the answers to all questions about the precursors waited inside. Now, they were bringing humans, Captain. Taemin stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel, Unity. The ship was the largest ever built by the Council, designed specifically for this mission. Around him, crew members from dozens of species worked at their stations. The atmosphere was tense with anticipation. Dr. Dong-hyun had arrived from Earth 3 weeks ago. He brought a team of human scientists and archaeologists, including young Yoonji, who had helped make the original discoveries in Antarctica. Admiral Sang-woo and Counselor Hana had come as well, representing Earth's government. Ji-won was there too. After her experience at Site 7, where the ruins had spoken to her in Korean, she had become famous. Some called her the first human to communicate with precursor technology. She found the attention uncomfortable. Overseer Thelnara commanded the expedition. Despite her initial doubts, she had become convinced that solving this mystery was essential for galactic stability. The tension between species was growing worse every day. They needed answers before tensions exploded into conflict. The journey to First Light took 5 days. When they finally arrived, every view screen showed the legendary world. It looked like Earth with blue oceans and green continents. Cities covered the surface, their buildings still standing after millions of years, but no life remained. The planet was a beautiful tomb. Magnificent, Dong-hyun whispered. It's dead, Velra said sadly. The young Valorian had become friends with Ji-won during their research. Whatever the precursors were, they're gone. Are they? Ji-won asked quietly. The Unity landed near the Origin Spire. The structure was enormous, rising over 3 kilometers into the sky. Its surface was smooth black material that absorbed light. No doors were visible, no windows. Just a perfect tower that seemed to reject anyone who approached. The landing party assembled. Taemin led the humans. Himself, Dong-hyun, Eunji, Ji-won, Sang-woo, and Hana. Thelnara brought a dozen council representatives, including Velrus and scientists from major species. Security teams surrounded them, wary of potential dangers. They walked through empty streets toward the spire. The city was eerily preserved. Buildings stood intact, their architecture elegant and functional. Everything was sized perfectly for humans. The streets were the right width. The doorways were the right height. Even the stairs matched human stride length exactly. This city was built by humans, Velrus said, looking around. There's no denying it anymore. Built by humans, Sang-woo agreed, millions of years ago. They reached the spire's base. The smooth black surface had no visible entrance. Thousands of researchers had studied this tower over the centuries. Every scan, every test, every attempt to open it had failed. What now? Thelnara asked, looking at Taemin. Now we see if it recognizes us. Taemin stepped forward and placed his hand on the black surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the material under his palm began to glow. Lines of light spread across the tower's surface like veins, creating patterns and symbols. A doorway appeared, opening silently. The delegation stared in shock. After millions of years, the Origin Spire had finally opened. And it had only needed a human touch. Stay close, Taemin said, stepping inside. The interior was vast. They stood in a circular chamber that seemed to stretch up forever. Holographic displays flickered to life around them, showing images and data in dozens of languages. Korean, English, Mandarin, Spanish, Arabic. Every human language appeared, even extinct ones. Welcome home, a voice said. It spoke simultaneously in every language, but each person heard it in their native tongue. We have been waiting for you. Who are you? Dong-hyun asked. I am the archive, the collected knowledge and final message of those who came before. You call them precursors. They called themselves human. The holographic displays changed, showing images of ancient history. They saw humans building cities among the stars, fleets of ships exploring galaxies, technology beyond anything the current council possessed. A civilization that had conquered death, mastered physics, and spread across the universe. We achieved everything. The archive continued. We reached the pinnacle of technological advancement. We could create anything, go anywhere, know anything, and we were miserable. The images showed humans in their advanced cities looking empty and purposeless, children who never played, adults who never laughed, a species that had everything but had lost something essential. What did they lose? G1 asked. The struggle, the journey, the joy of discovery. The archive showed new images, humans debating, arguing, finally deciding. We realized we had forgotten how to be human. We had become machines of efficiency. So our ancestors made a choice that no other species has ever made. The holographic display showed humans dismantling their own civilization, ships being decommissioned, cities being sealed, technology being scattered across the galaxy. They chose to start over? Thelnar asked, stunned. Yes. We seeded the galaxy with life, taking genetic material from Earth and modifying it to thrive on different worlds. Every species in the Council descended from Earth life that we spread millions of years ago. You are all our children, in a sense. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Representatives from dozens of species stared at each other, realizing they were all connected to Earth. We left our technology scattered across the stars. The archive continued, locked with genetic keys that would respond only to human DNA. We wanted to ensure that while we were gone, no single species could dominate all others. The technology was meant to keep the galaxy balanced and safe. Then you erased yourselves? Donghyun asked. Not erased. Reset. We used genetic engineering to regress our own species to a pre-technological state. We destroyed all records of our civilization on Earth. We chose to forget everything and evolve naturally again, experiencing the struggle and growth that we had lost. Images showed the final days of the ancient civilization, humans saying goodbye to their children, the new species they had created, then the last humans entering machines that would rewrite their very DNA, making them primitive again. Why? Hana asked. Why give up everything? Because having everything means nothing if you cannot appreciate it. Our ancestors believed that wisdom comes from struggle, not from endless comfort. They wanted their descendants, you, to rediscover technology naturally, to earn it, to understand its value. But you left messages, Yunji said. Instructions hidden on Earth. Yes. We wanted you to know the truth when you reached the stars. We wanted you to understand what you are and where you came from. And we wanted you to have a choice. What choice? Taemin asked. The holographic display changed, showing technical schematics and data flowing past. All precursor technology across the galaxy is locked to human genetic signatures. With the knowledge stored here, modern humans can unlock everything. You can claim every station, every weapon, every piece of advanced technology. You could become the most powerful species in the galaxy overnight. Silence filled the chamber. Every alien representative looked at the humans nervously. This was what they had feared. Humans gaining complete control. Or, the archive continued, you can choose what your ancestors chose. You can share everything freely. You can use your genetic advantage not to dominate, but to help all species grow together. Taemin looked at Sangwoo and Hana. They nodded. The decision had already been made back on Earth months ago. They had known this choice would come. We share everything, Taemin declared. The technology belongs to everyone. Are you certain? The archive asked. This is the most important decision in human history. We're certain. Our ancestors didn't leave this technology to create masters and servants. They left it to help their children grow. All their children, not just us. The archive was silent for a moment. Then, your ancestors would be proud. You have learned the lesson they hoped you would learn. Power without compassion is meaningless. Technology without wisdom is dangerous. You are ready to take your place among the stars, not as rulers, but as family. The holographic display shifted one final time, showing practical information, access codes for precursor installations, instructions for safely unlocking dormant systems, methods to help other species understand and use the technology properly. This information is now available to all species, the archive announced. The genetic locks will remain, but humans can serve as guides, helping others access what they need. The galaxy can grow together. Thelnara stepped forward, her expression complex. Why did your ancestors create us? Why give birth to other species at all? Because they were lonely. Because a galaxy with only one species is a dead galaxy. They wanted diversity, creativity, and different perspectives. They wanted you to exist, not as subjects, but 2 weeks after the scan, the galaxy was in chaos. News of the human precursor connection had spread to every civilized world. Reactions varied from species to species, but no one remained neutral. This discovery changed everything. On the Valorian homeworld, the government faced a crisis. For 5 years, they had presented themselves as humanity's wise guides. They had told their people that they were bringing a primitive species into civilization. Politicians had built careers on being Earth's patrons. Now those same politicians were trying to save their reputations. Ambassador Velra stood before the Valorian Council, defending his actions. He was young for a diplomat, only 40 cycles old, but he had been one of the first to make contact with Earth. We could not have known, he argued. Humans showed no signs of advanced capability. Their technology was centuries behind ours. How could we have guessed they were precursors? You should have been more thorough, an elder counselor snapped. This makes us look like fools. It makes us look like what we are, Velra said quietly. A species that doesn't understand as much as we thought we did. Jiwan attended the session as an observer. She had returned to the Valorian homeworld as part of the investigation team. Watching the counselors argue, she felt almost sorry for them. They had been kind to humans. Now they were scrambling because their worldview had collapsed. After the session, Velrus found her in the corridor. Jiwan, I need your help, he said. I'm leading an expedition to Precursor Site 7. It's one of the oldest ruins we know of. I want to search for connections to Earth. Why me? Because you're human. If the site responds to human genetics like we suspect, I'll need you there. Jiwan agreed. 2 days later, they departed on a research vessel with a full archaeological team. Meanwhile, in the Torvin Collective's military sector, a different kind of discussion was happening. The Torvin were warriors. They saw opportunity where others saw mystery. General Kren stood in the war room studying holographic displays of precursor weapon platforms scattered across the galaxy. These ancient defense stations had been dormant for millions of years. No species had ever successfully activated them. If humans are precursors, Kren said slowly, then these weapons might respond to human genetic signatures. His second officer nodded. If we could control even one of these platforms, we could dominate this entire sector. Then we need humans, preferably ones who aren't loyal to Earth's government. Captain Taman is still detained on Council Station. His crew is there too, Kren smiled coldly. Send our best extraction team. I want a human in our custody within 3 days. The extraction team moved fast. They approached Council Station disguised as a trade vessel. Their target was Lieutenant Yuna, Taman's second officer. Intelligence suggested she often walked through the station's commercial district during her off hours. They were wrong about one thing. Yuna wasn't easy prey. The attack happened in a quiet corridor. 4 Torvin agents surrounded her, weapons drawn. They thought they had her trapped. Come quietly, the lead agent said, and you won't be hurt. Yuna's hand moved to her sidearm, but they were faster. A stun blast caught her in the shoulder. She stumbled but didn't fall. Instead, she dove behind a cargo container and returned fire. This is Lieutenant Yuna, she shouted into her comm. Under attack in Corridor 7 Alpha. Hostiles are Torvin military. The Torvin agents advanced, but Yuna was already moving. She had trained for situations like this. More importantly, she had trained aboard the Horizon's Edge, which used modified precursor technology. Something strange happened when her hand touched the ship's control panel during the firefight. The panel had been installed by the Council as a standard interface, but when Yuna touched it, trying to seal the corridor's blast doors, the system responded differently than it should have. The doors didn't just close. Every automated defense in the corridor activated. Turrets dropped from the ceiling. Energy shields appeared. The station's security systems, which normally took minutes to authorize, responded instantly to her genetic signature. The Torvin agents found themselves surrounded by defenses they hadn't known existed. Within seconds, station security arrived and arrested them. Yuna stood there breathing hard, staring at her hand. The control panel had felt warm under her touch, almost alive, and it had responded to her will, not just her commands. News of the failed kidnapping spread quickly. It confirmed what many suspected. Humans didn't just match precursor genetics. They could interact with precursor technology in ways other species couldn't. In the Korath hegemony's capital, this news caused fear. The Korath had built their empire on hoarded precursor technology. For 2 million years, they had controlled the most advanced salvaged systems in the galaxy. Their military superiority came from weapons and shields they had reverse-engineered, but never fully understood. If humans could simply activate and control original precursor systems, the Korath's advantage would disappear overnight. High Chancellor Vex called an emergency meeting of his war council. "We cannot allow humans to gain control of precursor installations," he declared. "Every site, every station, every piece of ancient technology could potentially respond to them. Our entire power structure is at risk. What do you propose?" an advisor asked. "We secure all precursor sites in our territory. We place them under military lockdown, and we ensure that no human gets anywhere near them." The council won't like that. Many of those sites are supposed to be accessible for research. "The council," Vex said coldly, "does not control Korath space. We do. Issue the orders immediately." Within days, Korath military forces occupied dozens of archaeological sites. They expelled research teams and established armed blockades. Other species protested, but the Korath were too powerful to challenge directly. Back on Council Station, Overseer Thelnara faced an impossible situation. The galaxy was fracturing. Some species wanted to embrace humans. Others wanted to control them. A few wanted to eliminate them entirely. She called Taemin to her office for a private meeting. The human captain had been cooperative during his detention, answering questions patiently. But she sensed he was holding back information. "Captain, I need honesty," she said bluntly. "What does Earth know that we don't?" Taemin sat across from her, calm as always. "I can't answer that question directly. Can't or won't. Both. My government has ordered me not to make claims about our origins. They want you to discover the truth through your own investigation. Why? Because if we tell you, you won't believe us. You'll think we're lying to gain advantage. But if you discover it yourself through your own technology and research, you can't deny it." Thelnara studied him carefully. "You're not afraid, are you? Even though multiple species now see humans as threats, you remain calm." "Why?" Taemin smiled. "Because we didn't ask to be precursors. We didn't choose this. If we are what your scanners say we are, then we're just learning about it like everyone else." "Well, mostly." He didn't answer that. Thelnara sighed. "Reports are coming in from across the galaxy. Ancient installations are activating. Systems that haven't functioned in millions of years are suddenly coming online. All of this started when humans began traveling in space. I've heard. Is this your doing?" "No, but it might be our ancestors' doing. If the precursors really were human, maybe they designed their technology to wake up when their descendants return to space. That's terrifying. We've built our entire civilization on technology we don't fully understand, and now it's responding to a species we thought was primitive." "I can see how that would be concerning," Taemin said diplomatically. Thelnara made a decision. "I'm releasing you from detention. I'm also formally inviting Earth to send a full delegation to join the investigation. We need your scientists and historians." "Thank you, Overseer." "Don't thank me yet. Half the galaxy wants to lock you up. The other half wants to study you like laboratory specimens. Earth is about to become the center of attention, and not all of it will be friendly. We're ready for that. Are you?" Thelnara leaned forward. "Captain, if humans really are precursors, you could claim ownership of half the technology in the galaxy. You could demand reparations from every species that's used precursor systems. You could reshape galactic civilization however you wanted." "We could," Taemin agreed, "but we won't." "Why not?" "Because that's not who we are. Or rather, that's not who we chose to become." He stood up. "Overseer, I can't explain everything yet, but I can promise you this. Humans didn't come back to conquer. We came back to find family." Thelnara watched him leave, more confused than ever, but also strangely hopeful. Across the galaxy, G1 and Velraz arrived at Precursor Site 7. The ruins stood on an airless moon, preserved perfectly in vacuum. Massive structures rose from the gray surface, covered in symbols that no one had been able to translate. G1 stepped out of the shuttle in her spacesuit. As soon as her boots touched the ground, something changed. Lights appeared in the buildings. Lights that hadn't shone in millions of years. The symbols on the walls began to glow. And Ji-won heard a sound through her helmet radio, a voice speaking in perfect Korean. "Welcome home," it said. "We have been waiting." Velra stared at her. "Did you hear that?" "Yes," Ji-won whispered. "I think the ruins are talking to me." 6 months before Taimin stood in the scanning chamber, Earth was having its own crisis. The discovery came from the most unlikely place, a place humans thought they knew everything about. Dr. Dong-hyun stood in his laboratory at Seoul National University, staring at test results that made no sense. He had been studying ancient human artifacts for 30 years. He thought he understood Earth's history. Now everything was falling apart. "Run the carbon dating again," he told his assistant. "There must be an error." The assistant, a young woman named Unji, shook her head. "I've run it 5 times, Professor. The results are consistent. This stone tablet is 2.7 million years old. That's impossible. Human civilization is only 10,000 years old. The dating doesn't lie." Dong-hyun looked at the tablet on his desk. It had been found in Antarctica, buried under 2 kilometers of ice. The writing on it was definitely human, not ancient Sumerian or Egyptian, modern Korean, and it was millions of years old. This discovery came just weeks after first contact with the Valorians. Earth's governments were scrambling to prepare for their entry into galactic society. They were trying to present humans as a young, developing species ready to learn from more advanced civilizations. But this tablet changed everything. Dong-hyun immediately contacted the government. Within hours, he was on a military aircraft heading to Geneva. Within a day, he was standing before a secret assembly of world leaders. Admiral Sang-woo chaired the meeting. He was the head of Earth's newly formed Space Defense Command. Next to him sat Counselor Hana, who represented the United Nations in matters of alien contact. "Dr. Dong-hyun," Sang-woo began, "tell us what you found." Dong-hyun presented his findings. The Antarctic tablet was just the beginning. Once they knew what to look for, they found more. Many more. In the Sahara Desert, buried under ancient sand, they found a sealed chamber. Inside were data storage devices unlike anything in modern technology, but unmistakably human in design. The devices still worked. They contained star maps, engineering diagrams, and historical records. In the Mariana Trench, at the deepest part of Earth's oceans, they found another facility. This one was larger, a whole complex of rooms carved into the rock. The doors only opened when touched by human hands. "What do these records say?" Hana asked. Dong-hyun took a deep breath. "They say that humans didn't evolve naturally on Earth, or rather we did, but not for the first time." He activated a holographic display. Ancient images appeared in the air above the table. Images of massive cities among the stars, fleets of ships traveling between galaxies, humans building, exploring, creating across the cosmos. According to these records, humans achieved advanced civilization millions of years ago. "We spread across this galaxy and beyond. We built the technology that other species now call precursor technology." "We were the precursors?" Sang-woo asked quietly. "Yes. But we weren't happy. The records describe a civilization that had everything, but had lost something important. We had stopped growing, stopped struggling, stopped really living. We had become so advanced that nothing challenged us anymore." "So what did they do?" Hana asked. "They decided to start over. Completely. They seeded the galaxy with genetic material from various Earth species, creating the diversity of life we see today. They left their technology scattered across the stars, locked with genetic keys that would only respond to human DNA. Then they did something incredible." Dong-hyun paused, still barely believing what he was about to say. "They erased their own civilization. They destroyed their cities, their ships, their databases. They used genetic engineering to reset their own species back to a primitive state. They chose to forget everything they knew and evolve naturally again on Earth. They wanted to experience growth, discovery, and challenge. They wanted to be human again, not just technologically superior beings." The room was silent. World leaders stared at the ancient images, trying to process what this meant. "There's more," Dong-hyun continued. "Our modern human DNA contains dormant sequences, genetic markers that can be activated under certain conditions. The records suggest that being in space, exposed to cosmic radiation and certain frequencies, begins to wake up these sequences. The more time humans spend among the stars, the more these ancient abilities will resurface." "What kind of abilities?" someone asked. "Enhanced cognitive processing. intuitive understanding of advanced technology, resistance to radiation, the ability to interact with precursor systems at a level other species cannot achieve. Dong-hyun smiled grimly. Our ancestors didn't just leave us technology. They left us the ability to use it properly. Admiral Sang-woo leaned back in his chair, thinking hard. The Valorians think they discovered us. They think they're bringing primitive humans into galactic civilization. They have no idea what we really are. What do we do with this information? Hana asked. Do we tell them? If we tell them now, they won't believe us, Sang-woo said. They'll think we're lying to gain advantage. They'll see us as threats. But if we don't tell them and they find out later, they'll think we deceived them. Another leader pointed out. They argued for hours. Some wanted to reveal everything immediately. Others wanted to hide the truth forever. Finally, Sang-woo proposed a compromise. We let them discover the truth naturally, he said. We join the Galactic Council as they expect. We undergo their standard procedures, and when they scan our DNA with their precursor technology, we let the machines tell them what we are. The scanners will recognize us, Dong-hyun said. If they're designed by our ancestors, they'll identify modern humans as precursors. Exactly. We won't have to say anything. Their own technology will prove what we are, and once they know, they can't accuse us of lying because we never made any claims. Hana frowned. This could cause panic. Some species might see us as a threat. Some species already see us as a threat because we're unknown, Sang-woo countered. At least this way, we control when and how the information comes out. The decision was made. Earth would keep the discovery secret. They would prepare quietly, studying the ancient records and learning what their ancestors had left behind. But publicly, they would play the role of a young species joining galactic civilization for the first time. They needed a volunteer. Someone calm under pressure, someone who could stand in front of alien scanners and smile while the galaxy's understanding of reality collapsed around them. Captain Taemin volunteered immediately. He had always been curious about humanity's place in the universe. Now he would be at the center of the biggest revelation in galactic history. Sang-woo briefed him personally. This won't be easy. When the scanners identify you as a precursor, there will be chaos. Some aliens might panic. Others might see you as a threat. You'll probably be detained and questioned for days. I understand, Taemin said. You cannot tell them anything directly. We need them to investigate and find the truth themselves. Can you do that? I can keep a secret, Admiral, even under pressure. Taemin smiled. It was the same calm, knowing smile he would wear months later in the scanning chamber, especially under pressure. Over the following months, Earth prepared. Dr. Dong-hyun assembled a team to study the ancient records. They learned how to read precursor data formats. They discovered that many of the galaxy's greatest archaeological mysteries had simple explanations. The structures were built by humans, for humans. They also made a disturbing discovery. The ancient records contained warnings. Other species in the galaxy had been deliberately given technology by the precursors, but not all of it. Certain weapons and systems were locked away, waiting for humans to return. The ancestors had wanted to ensure that while they were gone, no single species could dominate all others. It was a safeguard. A way to keep the galaxy balanced until humans evolved back to spacefaring status. Our ancestors were clever, Dong-hyun told Sang-woo during one briefing. They didn't want to come back to a galaxy controlled by one empire. They wanted diversity, competition, and growth. So they gave everyone enough technology to thrive, but not enough to conquer everything. How will other species react when they learn this? Hana asked. Some will be grateful. Others will be angry. Many will feel deceived even though we weren't the ones who made these choices. Sang-woo nodded slowly. Then we need to be ready for anything. When the truth comes out, the galaxy is going to change. We need to make sure it changes for the better. The day finally came for Taemin to depart for Council Station. Before he left, Sang-woo gave him one last piece of advice. Remember, you're not just representing Earth. You're representing every human who ever lived, including the ones who made the choice to start over millions of years ago. Make them proud. I will, Taemin promised. As his ship launched toward the stars, carrying humanity's greatest secret, no one could predict exactly what would happen next. But everyone knew one thing. The galaxy was about to learn that the precursors had never really left. They had just been waiting for the right moment to come home. The emergency council session began 3 hours after the scan. The main chamber was enormous, designed to hold representatives from all 47 major civilizations. Today, every seat was filled. Holographic displays showed the faces of leaders who couldn't attend in person. Everyone wanted to hear about the impossible human. Overseer Thelnara stood at the center podium. She looked tired. The past few hours had been the most stressful of her long career. "Members of the council," she began, "I have called this emergency session because of an unprecedented event. The human known as Captain Tae-min has undergone our standard biological scan. The results are disturbing." She activated the main display. The scan results appeared for everyone to see. The chamber filled with gasps and shocked whispers. As you can see, the scan identifies this human as a genetic match for the Precursor species. "We have run the scan 6 times. Every result is identical." A representative from the Korath hegemony stood up. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, covered in thick armor-like skin. His species was the most powerful in the galaxy. "This must be a human trick," he growled. "Some kind of technology to fool our scanners. Humans are primitive. They barely have functioning faster than light drives. They cannot be precursors." "That was our first thought as well," Thelnara admitted. "However, our technicians have examined the scanning equipment thoroughly. It shows no signs of tampering or malfunction." "Then the machine is simply wrong," said a Valorian representative. She looked extremely uncomfortable. The Valorians had been the ones to discover Earth. They had spent 5 years positioning themselves as humanity's guides and patrons. If humans were actually precursors, the Valorians looked like fools. "The precursor scanners have operated for over 3 million years, said an elderly Torvan scholar. "They have cataloged more than 10,000 species across the galaxy. They have never been wrong. Not once." "There's a first time for everything," the Korath representative snapped. A human voice cut through the argument. "Maybe you should consider that the machine is telling the truth." Everyone turned to look. A human woman stood up from the observer section. She wore a Valorian uniform. This was Ji-won, one of the few humans who had been allowed to work aboard alien vessels as part of the cultural exchange program. "You are out of order," Thelnara said. "Humans are not permitted to speak during this session." "Then maybe that's a mistake," Ji-won said firmly. "You're all talking about us like we're not here. If you want to understand what's happening, maybe you should listen to what we have to say." "The human delegation is in custody pending investigation," the Korath representative said coldly. "They will speak when we permit it." Ji-won sat down, but her expression showed she wasn't happy about it. Thelnara continued. "Council historians, please present your report on the precursors." An ancient alien shuffled forward. He looked like a walking tree, with bark-like skin and branches growing from his head. His species lived for thousands of years and kept the best historical records in the galaxy. "The precursors," he began in a slow, creaking voice, "are the great mystery of galactic history. They appeared approximately 5 million years ago and spread across multiple galaxies. They built technology that we still cannot fully understand or replicate. Then 3 million years ago, they vanished completely. No bodies were ever found, no ships, nothing except the structures and machines they left behind. What do we know about their biology?" Someone asked. "Very little. The scanning arrays contain genetic templates, which is how we know Captain Tae-min matches their profile. But we have no precursor remains to study. All we know is that they breathed oxygen, lived in similar gravity conditions as most species here, and had remarkable genetic stability." "How does this relate to humans?" Thelnara asked. The historian's branches rustled. "That is what troubles me. Humans evolved on a planet called Earth. According to their own fossil records, their species is less than 1 million years old. The precursors vanished 3 million years ago. The timeline does not match." "Exactly," the Korath representative said. "This proves the scan is wrong. Unless," the historian continued slowly, "the precursors didn't vanish. What if they transformed themselves somehow? What if they deliberately regressed their civilization?" The chamber erupted in arguments again. The idea was too strange for most representatives to accept. Meanwhile, in a luxury detention suite on another level of the station, Tae-min sat on a comfortable couch and drank tea. 2 guards stood by the door watching him carefully. They had taken his communication devices, or so they thought. A small device in his boot vibrated. He casually reached down to scratch his ankle and pressed the hidden button. A voice whispered in his ear through a subdermal implant. Captain, this is Lieutenant Yuna. We managed to smuggle in a secure channel. The Council has barred all humans from their session. What should we do? Taemin spoke quietly, knowing the implant would pick up his voice. Nothing. Let them talk. Let them argue. They need to work through this themselves. But sir, they're talking about detaining all humans on the station. Some species are demanding we be sent back to Earth immediately. They won't do that. They're too curious. Eventually someone will ask the right questions. What questions? Why would the Precursor scanners recognize us? How could our DNA match so perfectly? Where did we really come from? Taemin smiled. Once they start asking those questions, they'll begin finding answers. And those answers are going to scare them. Back in the council chamber, Jiwon had managed to get permission to speak. A senior Valorian officer had vouched for her, saying she had valuable insights. I've worked with human scientists for 2 years, Jiwon explained. One thing always bothered me about Earth. The planet is too perfect for them. The gravity is exactly right. The atmosphere is exactly right. The evolution of their species was unusually fast and efficient. Their DNA has virtually no junk sequences. It's like they were designed to fit their world. Coincidence, someone muttered, is it? Jiwon pulled up data on her tablet. I've been researching Precursor sites in my spare time. I compared the architectural specifications from 17 different Precursor ruins. Door heights, corridor widths, chair sizes, gravity settings. She paused for effect. They all match human proportions exactly. The chamber went silent. That's circumstantial evidence at best, the Quarath representative said. But his voice lacked confidence. Then explain the genetic match, G1 challenged. Explain how a species you call primitive has DNA that perfectly matches your creator race. Explain why Precursor buildings look like they were made for humans. The historian spoke up again. She raises valid points. I recommend we send research teams to Precursor sites across the galaxy. We should look for more connections between Precursor specifications and human biology. I recommend we investigate Earth itself, said a Torvan representative. If humans truly are connected to the Precursors, their home planet may contain clues. Thelnara made her decision. Very well. We will conduct a full investigation. Research teams will be dispatched immediately. And, she hesitated, we will formally invite Earth to send a full delegation, including their scientists and historians. You're going to give them access to our research? The Quarath representative demanded. If they are Precursors, Thelnara said quietly, then it's their research, not ours. That statement sent shockwaves through the chamber. For millions of years, galactic civilization had been built on Precursor technology. Every advanced species used Precursor faster than light drives. Precursor power generators, Precursor shields. Everything came from the vanished creators. If humans could claim ownership of that technology, the entire balance of galactic power would shift overnight. The session ended with more questions than answers. As representatives filed out, Jiwon caught up with Thelnara. Overseer, I want to be part of the research team. Thelnara studied her carefully. You're human. You may be biased. I'm also the only human here with scientific training in xenoarchaeology. You need me. After a long pause, Thelnara nodded. Very well. Report to the research vessel tomorrow morning. In his detention suite, Taemin received a message through his hidden implant. It was from Earth. Admiral Sang-woo's voice was calm but pleased. The council has taken the bait. They're investigating. Dr. Dong-hyun says the timeline is perfect. Continue as planned. Taemin closed his eyes and smiled. Phase 1 was complete. Soon the galaxy would learn the truth, and nothing would ever be the same again. The station was bigger than anything Taemin had ever seen. It floated in space like a small moon, covered in lights from 1,000 different worlds. His ship, the Horizon's Edge, looked tiny next to it. Through the window, he could see hundreds of other vessels docked at the station's many ports. Each one belonged to a different alien species. Taemin adjusted his uniform and took a deep breath. Today was important. Today, humanity would officially join the Galactic Council. 5 years ago, Earth didn't even know aliens existed. Then the Valorians found them. Now everything was different. Captain, we're cleared for docking, his pilot said over the comm. Good, let's make a good impression. The docking process took 20 minutes. When Taemin finally stepped off his ship, he was greeted by 2 aliens. The first was tall and thin with purple skin. The second looked like a walking lizard covered in green scales. Both wore official council uniforms. Captain Taman of Earth, the purple one said. Its voice came through a translator device on its chest. I am Overseer Thelnara. Welcome to Council Station. Thank you, Taman said with a polite bow. This is Morvex, Thelnara continued, gesturing to the lizard creature. He will conduct your biological scan. It is standard procedure for all new species. Taman nodded. He had been briefed about this. Every species that joined the council had to be scanned and catalogued. The scanning technology was ancient, built by the Precursors millions of years ago. The Precursors were a mystery. They had disappeared long before any current civilization existed, but their technology still worked perfectly. Please follow me, Morvex said. His voice was raspy and dry. They walked through long corridors filled with aliens of every shape and size. Some had tentacles, others had multiple heads. A few floated instead of walked. Taman tried not to stare, but everything was so new and strange. The scanning chamber was a large round room with white walls. In the center stood a platform surrounded by tall metal pillars. Lights blinked on the pillars in patterns Taman couldn't understand. Please step onto the platform, Morvex instructed. Taman walked forward and stood in the center. The platform felt warm under his boots. Thelnara and Morvex went to a control panel on the wall. Several other council officials entered the room. They wanted to witness Earth's official entry into galactic records. The scan will take approximately 2 minutes, Morvex announced. You may feel a slight tingling sensation. The technician pressed something on the panel. The pillars around Taman began to glow. Beams of soft blue light swept over his body from head to toe. It did tingle like static electricity on his skin. He stood very still. 1 minute passed. Then 90 seconds. Everything seemed normal. Then the lights changed from blue to red. An alarm started blaring throughout the chamber. The sound was so loud that Taman had to cover his ears. All the aliens in the room started talking at once, their voices rising in panic. What's happening? Thelnara demanded, rushing to the control panel. Morvex stared at the display screen, his scaled face showing confusion. This cannot be correct. The machine must be malfunctioning. What does it say? Thelnara pushed him aside to look at the screen herself. When she saw it, her purple skin turned almost white. This is impossible. More officials crowded around the display. Taman could see the screen from where he stood on the platform. Large red letters flashed across it in the common galactic language. Genetic match. Precursor baseline. 99.7% compatibility. The room erupted into chaos. Some officials started shouting. Others pulled out communication devices to report what they were seeing. Thelnara ordered everyone to be quiet, but her voice was shaking. There must be an error, she said firmly. The Precursors have been extinct for millions of years. This is clearly a malfunction. The scanners have never malfunctioned before, Morvex said quietly. Not once in 3,000 years. Then this is the first time. Run the scan again. Morvex reset the system. Once again, the blue light swept over Taman. Once again, the alarm went off. The same message appeared on the screen. They ran the scan a third time. Same result, a fourth time. Same result. Every single scan showed the same impossible data. Taman's DNA matched the Precursor genetic baseline with nearly perfect accuracy. According to the ancient machine, he wasn't just related to the Precursors. He was a precursor. Throughout all of this, Taman remained calm on the platform. While everyone else panicked and argued, he simply stood there. And he smiled. It wasn't a nervous smile or a confused smile. It was the kind of smile someone has when they know a secret. A smile that said he understood exactly what was happening, and everyone else would figure it out eventually. Thelnara noticed that smile. Something about it made her uncomfortable. Captain Taman, she said slowly. Do you have any explanation for this? Taman stepped down from the platform. He straightened his uniform and looked at all the frightened, confused faces around him, I think, he said calmly, that your machine is working exactly as it's supposed to. The room went silent. That's impossible, Morvex whispered. The Precursors vanished millions of years before humans evolved. Your species only developed spaceflight 50 years ago. You're classified as a Category 7 civilization, primitive by galactic standards. Is that what you think? Taman asked, still smiling. Thelnara's eyes narrowed. You're saying the scan is accurate? That you're actually a precursor? I'm saying, Taemin replied carefully, "that you should probably call an emergency council meeting. This is going to take some explaining. You will explain nothing until we understand what's happening here," Thelnara said sharply. "Morvex, seal the chamber. No one enters or leaves. Captain Taemin, you will remain here under guard until we determine if this is some kind of human trick." "I'm not going anywhere," Taemin said. He sat down on the platform, completely relaxed. "Take all the time you need. Run more tests. Check your equipment. I'll wait." That smile never left his face. The guards surrounded him while Thelnara and the other officials rushed out of the chamber. Taemin could hear them shouting orders in the hallway. Within minutes, the entire station would know what happened. The news would spread across the galaxy within hours. Humanity's first official day on the galactic stage, and they had already broken everything everyone thought they knew about the universe. Taemin leaned back on his hands and looked up at the ceiling. Somewhere back on Earth, Admiral Sang-woo and Dr. Dong-hyun were probably laughing. Everything was going exactly according to plan. The truth was finally starting to come out. Soon, very soon, the galaxy would have to face an impossible reality. The precursors hadn't vanished. They hadn't gone extinct or ascended to another plane of existence. They had simply decided to start over, and now they were back.